Okay, we're going to talk about the retention center. Have you looked at the retention center at all yet?
Yeah, actually I've used it before.
Okay, good. So a lot of this you'll be familiar with, and then hopefully if you have any questions we can answer. And Dr. Siemens, have you used Retention Center at all?
I don't think so.
All righty. Okay, the best thing about Retention Center is basically everything instructors wish they could do with keeping track of their students' participation in the course, but they never knew they could. So, whenever you say, I wish I could, yes you can. So, and we have virtual cookies, except for we have scones today that you're missing out on, Tom, but they're still in the oven, so.
Yeah, I keep waiting. They're going to show up on my mailbox.
Yeah, we're going to have to send them out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop so that we can just go straight into it and have a look. And Philip is monitoring the chat, so since I won't see it while I'm sharing the desktop. Let's see, I'm just going to pick on Philip's course just because if I go into the summer orientation course that we do for first-time online students, it'll never load. So there's a couple of different ways you can access the Retention Center. First of all, you can do it through the quick menu here, the course navigation menu, using the up and down arrows. You can also, when you're in a course, access it under the evaluation menu. Let's go ahead and start up here. This will take you sort of to all of your courses, and you can see some of the courses I am not tracking and some of them I am tracking. So this is where you would start or stop tracking. So this is where you turn Retention Center basically on or off for individual courses. You just click on the course, click Start Tracking Now, or if you're tracking a course and you don't want to track it anymore, stop tracking this course. And you can restart at any time. And you'll see a list of all the courses that you're an instructor for.
Okay.
And if we choose a course, you kind of have these icons here which indicate there's something that you might want to pay attention to, or everything is good and my sandbox is going awesome. So, and these are based on the rules, which we'll see in just a second. This gives you kind of a summary screen. It has the breakdown here. 23 students did not contribute and 25 students did not log in. This, of course, is a spring course, so we're not too concerned about that because hopefully they're not still doing stuff. And it gives you a summary of the different types of alerts. If we click See Details, that'll take you into it at the course level, just as it would if we were in the course and chose Retention Center from that evaluation menu in the control panel. Okay. So it does take a minute sometimes to navigate. Okay, so whether you've gone from the quick menu or within the in the control panel to access the Retention Center, this is what you will see. This screen has a lot of information on it, and at first it can kind of be overwhelming. The main panel is the student risk table. The risk table gives you a really quick, at-a-glance kind of summary of, what things are going okay and which things aren't. By default, there are 4 categories: deadline, grades, like their score, their activity, and their access. So the activity and access are similar, but we'll see in detail in a minute that they're not exactly the same.
Right, because I have a lot of students that will log in.
Yeah, but they're not actually doing something. Yeah. So this is going to be really helpful with the whole LDA issues that we've had with withdrawing students and dropping students and when they were in there and keeping track of their attendance.
When somebody, and I had this problem at the beginning of this semester, a student signed in late, and so I didn't know that, and so because she signed up late, she logged in on Sunday of the first week and did nothing, and so I blocked her on Monday because I was like, is there any way we can like star or mark or, or get an email from Splinter because we have added this person to your course?
Yeah. Well, Retention Center is not really going to help with that because it doesn't have when they were enrolled.
Yeah. That's what I said. Is there some way that we could work with student services if they add somebody at the very last minute?
It's definitely something that
especially in the summer.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it doesn't matter if it's in the fall, you've still got a couple of weeks.
Yeah. It's definitely something we'll need to work with student services on and ask them about if we can get an update for late registrants. The good thing is you can set up these alerts and then you can notify the students directly, and then you can say, hey, you didn't do anything, you're going to be administratively withdrawn. And then that would give them an opportunity, that point of contact gives them an opportunity to say, I just got in the class last week or yesterday. So communicating with a student would help in that case. So this tells us that we have 25 students currently at risk, and that's going to be the entire course. Those are entirely for access and activity alerts indicated by the red dots, and that's again because this is a past course, the students haven't been doing anything. So, but if it were a live course, then you would be concerned by that. Okay, so if we click on any one student, we can see details for the student.
How far back can you go with this? Can I access my last student on this? Or does it have to be a current class?
You can access your past retention center and your past courses, but it's only going to show you the activity for those students in that class during that time period. So it won't tell you how they're doing now.
Right.
Okay, so this is the student detail screen, and you can see the student's profile picture. You can choose to monitor the student, and then they'll show up on that initial screen on the right-hand pane. We'll go back into that in a second. It indicates that the student is at risk, and below here you can see why. They haven't missed any deadlines. Their grade is good. It's 5.93% above average. Their activity is 52% above average, but the activity in the last week is 20% below the course average.
What's going on with that student?
Yes, within the last week they've dropped off, and it's good to be able to see that. And their last access was more than 5 days ago, and the alert is set to 5 days. So because this is a past course, we know why that's happening. But if it was a current course and all of a sudden a student who has not missed any deadlines, who is doing well in the course, their activity sharply drops off, you can notify them right away.
Something going on,
yeah, and from this screen you'll be notifying students, and it will put that student's name in here. You can also copy other recipients, and they'll be blind carbon copies.
Jackie, I just wanted to mention that the student that you were looking at was actually a really good student in my class, and that the retention center does not stop tracking even after the semester is over. So if you're wanting to look back at historical data, it's going to reflect what's current and not what was actual at the end of the semester.
Yeah, and
during that semester.
That's why I said we understand why his activity has decreased now because that semester's over. So that was not his activity throughout the course. The line above where we saw that his activity was 5.93%, no, that was his grade, where his activity was above normal, that is historically his activity was above normal. But below where it was in red and it gave the alert that his activity has dropped below 20%, that's his current activity right now over the past week. And of course he doesn't have any activity this week because it's not the spring semester anymore. So this is where you could send him a note, hey, noticed you kind of dropped off the planet, what's going on? You need help? Have you lost, if you can come to campus and use a computer if your computer's broken, or just a way to reach out to the student and let them know that you want them to continue with the course. So we're going to not send him an email so he doesn't get confused, but you would just hit submit and it would send him an email. So this is the historic average. So historically his activity in the course was 52% above average, but within the last week it has dropped to below 20% because it's not that semester anymore. So this will also give you a record of communications that you've had with the student. So if we would have sent him an email, it would have shown up here.
So that we can prove that, yes, I did try to get a hold
Well,
of you,
and, yeah, and so that you, like, if you have several students and you're working through, you can say, oh, okay, I already sent them a reminder. Or I sent them a reminder 2 days ago, you know, I'll give them a day. Or I sent them a reminder a week ago, I should probably go ahead and email them again, or check to see if they've dropped, or so on and so forth. And you can also add a note. So you could add a note that says, you know, reminder on Wednesday to check with the student.
Mm-hmm.
So. Okay, so if we go back to the main retention screen, you'll see Brian Cruz in the right-hand pane because he's now a monitored student. Eventually. There we go. There we go. So we can see Brian. So if we had a student who was kind of struggling, especially right out of the gate, you could monitor that student and they would be right there and you can kind of keep a close eye on them. Or if you had a student that you knew was going to have issues, you could monitor them and kind of just keep them on your radar so that you could go back and check and say, okay, you know, you're doing good, or, you know, you need to, you've missed something. Okay, so that's what information you can get from the Retention Center home screen. Down here, you'll see your activity in the course. This can be kind of useful to instructors. It kind of shows what, and this counts all the activity by all the instructors in the course. So it's not just, you know, I'm an instructor in this course right now, and Philip's an instructor in this course because he actually taught it in the spring, but all this activity is his. It's not showing my activity only. It's showing all the instructor activity in the course. So you can see like assessments that were made and discussion board activity and so on and so forth. So, you know, we'd like to get some feedback from instructors on how helpful that area has been to them, or if it hasn't. So, okay. So we're going to look at creating our own rules, and to do that we'll go into customize, and that's going to change the values that are evaluated to issue the red dot or gray dot alerts in here. Like I said, by default we have one alert in each of the 4 categories: activity category rules, course access category rules, grade category rules, and missed deadline rules. Missed deadlines would be particularly helpful on an assignment that is specifically worth a lot of weight in the course, or for the proctored event, to say, okay, if they've missed the proctored event, I know to contact them and say, can we make arrangements? Because if you don't complete that event, you will fail the course. So it's good to have a rule to monitor the proctored event. It would be good to have a rule that monitored anything that's worth a lot of weight in your class, the midterm, a test, so on and so forth. So you can set rules for individual assignments or just any activities. And on the final column, it tells you what the criteria for those rules are. So for the
so you check everything or check just 1 or 2 things.
Well, these are the rules that are actually functioning in the course now, and they're being evaluated to flag for risk.
Oh, okay, you don't have to check them?
Yeah, you don't have to check them. The check boxes here are just so that you can include in the risk table or exclude in the risk table,
Okay.
or delete. So, and these are all really, these were thoughtfully created by Blackboard. I mean, they're all pretty standard sort of rules that you would want to keep on there. You can adjust them if you'd like. Most of the time, you're probably just going to add new rules. So the activity is the activity in the last week is 20% below the course average, then they're going to get flagged. They're going to get a red dot in their activity. If their last access was more than 5 days ago, they're going to get a red dot. And especially for summer, you would want to change that to like 2 days or 3 days or whatever you feel is applicable. Then the external grade, and that's going to be the grade in your grade center that has the check mark. Typically, it's the total column. Whichever whichever column is set to the external grade is below 25% of the class average. So it's not below 25% and it's not below 75%, it's below 25% of the average of the course. And so
it's like it doesn't use the whole total number for all the assignments.
Exactly. It's compared to the rest of the class. So you may want to adjust that or create a different rule. Just like on the 5 days, you might want to change the number there. And then missed deadline. So how many, if one deadline has been missed by more than no days, so if they're 1 day late on one assignment, it will put a red dot in there. So you may, if you're flexible on late work, you might want to change that to like one assignment in 2 days or whatever you feel is appropriate for your handling of late work. Okay, so we're going to look at creating a new rule. We're going to do a grade rule. Grade rules can be good, especially if you want to also track positively performing students in your course. That's really good if you have a group project later in the semester. You can sort of evenly mix high-performing and low-performing students, but it would be good to track who the high performers are. I mean, typically instructors know that, but kind of at a glance. So we could call this our high performers. So we're going to include that in the risk table, because otherwise, why are we even making it? Okay, this is where you would select which item you want to monitor. Do you want to monitor their final grade, their overall grade, or a specific item? So you could set it to a specific item if you have, like, particularly if something later is coming up that is dependent on an earlier unit, you could set your high performers or your low performers to kind of intervene or mix them in when they did well on a specific assignment that's going to be relevant to the later assignment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to leave that to the overall grade because we're just monitoring general high performers. Okay, so you set the grade value above or below, so we're going to go above 85%. So if their grades are above, and you can use the average grades or their overall, so their grade is above 85%, they're going to be included in our risk table. So let me submit that. And then let's go back to retention submit. Okay, so then we have lots of grade alerts all of a sudden. And if we click on the dot, we can see what specifically about this student grade. We could go into the full student view, but if we want to quickly see what is triggering this alert, we can simply click on the dot. And by clicking on this dot, we can see, oh, it's because they're a high performer. So we can use this to notify them and say, hey, we've got you did really well on this assignment. Would you mind maybe being available for a study group? Would you mind maybe joining some collaborate tutor session or whatever the case may be? You can also add them to your monitoring so that you can see your high performers and your low performers and kind of mix them up for those group projects later if that's helpful. Just close that easily. Then again, in this course, because it's an old course, the activity alerts are still there. But clicking on the dot will tell you why they're being flagged. So, and these students are not being flagged because their grades are not above 85% or below the 20% below the course average. So Philip had really great students and some average students, but no troubling students grade-wise. Good job, Philip. Okay.
I have to give them credit. They were good students. Okay,
so that's basically all there is to it, to what you're seeing and to how to create your own rules and some ways that you can. There's so many different ways you can create rules and how they're going to it's going to be up to the individual instructor. What do you want to track? What do you want to know about your students? This is how you figure it out. And you have all of these categories, and the grades and the missed deadlines, the access and the activity really cover just about everything instructors want to be able to see at a glance about their students.
Now, is this automatically set to default for us, or do we have to turn it on?
No, it's automatically available in the course. You just have to start the tracking, which you can do from the quick menu, the little up and down arrows, and then you select the course and click Start Tracking Now. And then it will be there, and you can go into detail. That takes you in the course, or if you're already in the course, from the control panel there.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop that because that's going to take a while. Okay. I'm going here again. Not super fast. That's partially the machine in here, and partially because it takes a while to load Grade Center. Because even on the fastest machines that I use, I can't load this retention center screen for the online student orientation course because it has more than 1,000 students in it. So it just
So my classes I usually put two together, so each one has about 50 students, so that's going to take.
Yeah, so it'll take a little bit longer.
Okay.
So yeah, just keep an eye on your little circly wheel that it's still processing, cranking away. So, Tom, do you have any questions about how you can use it, or any ideas that you'd like to share about what you're tracking and what you found useful?
Yeah, first of all, what I found really useful was when students pay attention to the notification.
Yeah.
And so when you send them an email and say, hey, you haven't been in the class in 4 days, is there some problem I can help you with, that the notification that's generated through the retention center seems to carry more emphasis. It has more influence with the student. I hear back from them more quickly. And so it works really good. It's like a third party overseer saying, we're watching. So I guess that's a psychological thing. But one of the things that I'm curious about is those who have used it, or maybe those who are thinking about using it, is frequency. How frequent do you send a notification before? Do you send one every week? Do you send one every month?
Yeah, those are good questions, and I think that's going to be one of those issues where it depends on all the different factors. Like some instructors might be more lenient on late work, so they might say, so long as it's in by the end of the semester, they're okay with it. And we have instructors who have that sort of feeling, but they might still want to say, hey, you're missing like 4 assignments now, and send those out every so often. I think the great thing about it is it is so customizable. Pretty much like I said in the slide, I wish I could. Well, yes, you can. You can with Retention Center. If you want to know how often a student is accessing the course, if you want to know how well they're performing compared to the average, all of these things can be tracked through the Retention Center. It's a really great tool. And like you were saying, Tom, the Notify just being so convenient, it's right there. All you have to do, you see it, you click on it, and it's gone. You don't have to say, you don't have to go into Grade Center and kind of see all this like jumble of numbers and track down, okay, they missed this assignment, I should send them an email. Then you have to go out and go to email and send them an email, and then only to find out, oh wait, well they missed that assignment, which was worth 5 points, but they've got 100% on everything else in the course. I really probably didn't need to send them an email. Right. Or whatever the case may be. This gives you, at a glance, it makes all of that information very digestible in a simple way, and gives you the email option right there, so you can just click on it right at that moment, and and send them that note. And they do.
And I've just been sending them emails,
Yeah.
you know, without going through there, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I had one student that all she did the first week of school was the Missouri Constitution, which is open the whole semester and
Yeah.
she got there for 2 months. But she didn't do anything for week 1. And so I sent her an email and said, you know, it's great that you finished that project, but did you know you missed 5 other, you know, assignments?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I haven't heard anything back from her, so I'm wondering, you know,
Yeah.
maybe this would be a better way, like you said, to open up the eyes and say, hey, you know, wait a minute.
Yeah. And the notifications area that we're all becoming more and more familiar with, students have access to, but they don't always know to set up those alerts to let them know when how their performance is going. I'm hopeful that Blackboard will have a retention center module for students. Because right now, students, yeah, they have the notifications, but students have to turn those on and then go to them. But if there was an area where we could put the tool in the course and students could see not everybody else's, but their own progress, and they could click on the dots and see why they're being triggered, that would be fantastic. But it's really helpful for instructors right now to have that and to be able to monitor them and keep an eye on them or notify them right away. And I think it is more effective than, you know, just an announcement in the course that goes out to all students that just says, hey, a lot of you are missing whatever assignment. This is specific. Hey, this is something you need to pay attention to. So I think it really does help to make students aware of how they're performing in a class. And it makes it easy for instructors to let students know how they're doing in the class. So, but.
Yeah, once you learn how to navigate it, once you use it a few times, it's real simple. It's real easy, and you use it more.
Yeah, I would imagine. Have you set up any of your own custom rules in there, Tom?
Yeah, I set up the kudos. Well, you call it high performers. I call it kudos. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I like that. I love that you have the option to set up a notification or a rule that flags high-performing students, because it really is helpful to, you know, I mean, it generates that sort of community and encourages students to continue to do well if you do send them a note, hey, you did really well in this assignment, you know, or
I'm shocked you did so bad.
You're really turning it around. You know, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, they really like getting that pat on the back.
Yeah.
They get, I mean, I get almost, it's almost chat box response, you know.
Yeah. It would encourage that back and forth between instructors and students and generate more of a rapport between you and your students. They know you're not just sending them naughty notes when they're not doing
kind
well.
of like in a theater class where, you know, I can, you know, say, hey, wow, good job on this test, you know.
Yeah, good job. And
I don't say bad job for the weather, you know.
Yeah, and it's not just in the feedback specific to that assignment, but it's just like, hey, you know, overall, you're really doing well in this class. You know, keep up the good work. Or the students, if you're monitoring a student who has been doing kind of poorly, started off slow, who really has started to improve, you'll be able to see that, and you can be like, you know, if you put, you know, say Brian was doing poorly at first, so I monitored him because he wasn't doing well, and now I come in here and all of a sudden he's all green arrows. I can say like, hey Brian, way to turn it around, man. You've really come through.
Yeah, that's really important that you recognize that improvement.
Yeah. So. Well, do you guys have any questions at all about it?
Are you getting any feedback kind of globally from people who are using your retention center? Any?
We've really, we introduced it a couple of semesters ago. I don't think it's still not widely adopted, so we're hoping that more instructors will use it, and we welcome feedback on anything you can give us feedback for. We can't always fix everything, but we definitely welcome the feedback, and we really appreciate you, Tom. I know you've given us lots of feedback, so keep it coming.
Yeah, I just heard from Matt Harris. He's a math instructor, our supervisor, and he's been using the tool, and I think he's found what you found, that students are are actually paying more attention to the notifications that they get, and it's helping. So he's encouraged by what he's seen so far, and I think he plans to continue to use it. So I think as we go along, and student success and retention is such a big issue, not just with our institution but all over, that we may see more focus on this tool, not just from our area, but from administration too, once they understand what it can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things too, I think it doesn't, it's not going to work on every student, you know, but it's going to work on some. I don't know how many some is yet, but I know I think it's, I shouldn't say I know, I think it's made a difference, you know, in you know, maybe 2 or 3 students in a class out of 20.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe that, I don't know if that's a good number or a bad number, but
hey,
it's
more than 0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than 0. I guess that's kind of why I was asking, you know, what kind of feedback you were kind of getting. So.
Yeah, we're just hoping to start collecting that kind of data, and sort of a lot of it's going to be subjective, but we want to start collecting that information so that we can see, like, did you notice that last year when you had students who were falling off that they just fell off, but this year you started using Retention Center and the notifications, and you know, 2 or 3 of them really responded. So that's, I mean, like you said, it's not going to get every student. Some students, for whatever reason, lack of motivation, lack of ability, lack of time, lack of resources, they're not going to succeed, and the Retention Center is not going to help. But for those students who just needed a little bit more to get them to persevere and to continue in the course, it is going to help those students. And if we help one student with this tool, which is free with Blackboard, then it's worthwhile that we use it. So.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worthwhile, but it might be worth at least considering, is to incorporate, you know, something like, if the Retention Center is more widely used, maybe we even incorporate a question or a survey question, you know, in the student surveys or something, to get some kind of feel for.
That would be interesting to say, like, you know, did you notice when we notify students, is it flagging it with the Retention Center?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really. Oh yeah, it gives the alert name, so it's course grade alert. Yeah. So it could just, you know, be that, just alert, so that if there is, prompts their attention. This is different from a regular communication that I might get from an announcement being issued in the class, and this is specific to, you know, specific to my grade. It's an alert. So.
Yeah. Well, it's just a metric of trying to figure out, you know, what difference it's making, if any, because then you can figure out, you can kind of decide whether what you're doing is the right thing or if you need to make some changes or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Right now, it's just a guess.
Yeah. Like I said, it'll be really subjective, because every year, every semester, when you're working with students, you communicate with them through various different means, and it's kind of hard to tell, like, would you have noticed that they were falling off had you not had Retention Center? Would they have responded to a regular email versus an alert email?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say, but yeah, it's definitely worth kind of checking into.
Just one other thing I wanted to mention. You two are the first that we really will be mentioning this to at this point, but coming this fall, we're going to pilot a software platform called Aspire EDU, and I'm going to link to it here in the chat window, just so you've got it, Tom and Dr. Siemens, if you can see that, or if you wanted to jot it down. It's a tool that runs through Blackboard. It pulls data from Blackboard, but it gives kind of an institution level overview of the students in the course, and running through an algorithm, it generates a risk index and on various factors. They won't tell us what's in the secret sauce and how it does that, but it'll actually let instructors, administrators see what's going on with the student so an intervention can be made. So I think this, if we were ever to adopt this tool, it would go beyond the instructor, although the instructor would be a part of it. But we might have student services folks or part of our department, reaching out to these students that we flag as at-risk students. So that link will give you a little more information to the tool, but just stay tuned and we'll be providing more information. Not sure yet if it's going to be an institution-wide pilot or if we're going to take a select group of instructors, but we'd certainly, if we are taking a smaller group of instructors for the pilot, we would take volunteers. So if you're interested in that, just let us know. Let me or Jackie know.
Oh, what the heck was the name of that?
Well, if you guys don't have any more questions, again, we'll welcome your feedback. Anytime if you come up with an idea for a rule and you want to share it with us, absolutely do so. We'll be happy to pass that on to the rest of the faculty and let us know how it works for you and what you found were the most valuable alerts, what really was useful, so that we can kind of mention that to the rest of the faculty as we strive for further adoption. So. And thank you for coming. Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
Keep those Facebook posts coming.
Yeah. I was looking for, actually what I was looking for was we have a program at Columbus State. Oh, Starfish. That was the name of it.
Oh, yeah, Starfish.
Starfish.
It's very similar to Aspire EDU.
Yeah, when Philip was talking about involving, other people like advisors and so forth, we use Starfish there, and there's several people that are linked to that notification. When you send it out, it goes to several people, and so you hear, they kind of have a way of following up on at-risk students. So.
Yeah.
We've actually looked at Starfish a little bit. It's a pretty pricey system. Aspire EDU is a much smaller scale and is only looking at Blackboard, whereas Starfish will integrate with the student information systems. Datatel is what we use in Blackboard, and kind of brings in data from all over to assess where a student's at. But not that Starfish is out of the picture, but it's pretty cost prohibitive right now, and then we'd have to figure out what resources we'd pull in, student services, and really that's where the challenge lies. I mean, it's not in identifying the students. We have tools that'll let us do that. It's what do we do and who does it once we get to that point. So, that contact with the student. So. Still kind of looking at that, but hopefully we're moving in the right direction. But Starfish I know a lot of institutions using Starfish, and it's very robust.
Yeah. So Aspire, you're going to do the pilot in the fall.
That is the plan for right now. I think Matt is getting approval for just funding. It's a small amount that they're actually asking for to allow us to pilot this, but he still has to get approval from Dr. Bishop, our provost. So we're kind of waiting on that. Hope to hear back on that this week, but we're shooting for fall.
What I found to be most true with Retention Center is all of the things that instructors say, oh, I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do that, to keep track of students and their activity and performance in a class. Retention Center does that. So good news, all of your wishes for tracking students may come true today. Welcome and virtual cookies. If you guys ever come to a PD session here at Springfield campus, we do have treats for our PD attendees. Okay, a few things we're going to cover today are the risk table, which is a summary screen of your alerts and the students' statuses in each of the alert categories, creating your own alert rules, monitoring individual students, and the instant notification function in the Retention Center. So without further ado, let's check it out. I'm going to share my desktop, and we'll get to a PD screen. Forgive me, it'll take just a moment here. I gotta pull up the right screen in the right spot. So, unfortunately, when we have when we're using screen sharing, I'm not able to see chat. So, what I'm gonna do is close this real quick. I won't be able to see chat, and Philip has stepped away for just a moment. So, if you do have questions, I'll try to kind of keep flipping back and forth. Hopefully not make you too dizzy. But if you do have a microphone and you're able to ask questions that way, feel free to interrupt me whenever you need to. Okay. And we'll go back here to share my desktop. And there are two ways that we can access the Retention Center. The first is by going into the Global Navigation mini menu here and selecting the up and down arrows. That will provide you with a list of courses that you're the instructor for, and it will allow you to turn the tracking on and off in a course. You're not going to want to get alerts for old courses, say spring courses like this one, so you can go in and stop tracking that course at the end of the semester. You might want to leave it on if you have a student who's working through an incomplete. Once the semester has ended, you can still keep getting those alerts, although it's probably easier to keep track of just one student. So if you have new semester courses, like a summer course, you'll want to select it from the list. You can tell it's kind of grayed out here, and click the Start Tracking Now button, and that will get us started. Okay, also, quick update, I can see the chat window because I do have dual monitors in this machine, so feel free to chat or use your mic for any questions you might have. Okay, we're going to look at this selling course from last semester to get an idea, because I'm not an instructor in any current courses and we don't want to use current data for this session. Okay, so this screen gives you kind of a general breakdown of the alert statuses in the course. You can see that 11 students are in, have not logged in, or 25 students did not log in, and 23 students did not contribute. Because this is a spring course, those alerts are triggering, and of course we're not concerned about that because it's a past course. Below it gives you a breakdown of the different categories of grades and activities and access alerts. So to see a more detailed view for this specific course, we can click See Details, and this will take us to the Retention Center home screen for the course. Now, the other way to access it once you're in the course, in the control panel under the Evaluation menu, Retention Center will take you to this exact same screen. So either through the Global Navigation menu or within the course itself, you can get to the home screen for this course. This screen has a lot of information on it. There are primarily three areas. The student risk table is the main area in the course. It divides each alert into 4 different alert categories, which we will talk about in detail in a moment. And it gives you an alert status. Red dots mean they've triggered an alert according to the rules that you have set for that category. The area on the right is for students that you're specifically monitoring, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And the lower panel is the instructor activity. This is a summary of activity of all the instructors in the course. We're still waiting for a high level of adoption of the Retention Center at the institution to get sort of more feedback on how helpful this area is, but it does show the instructor activity in the course. So the most of your time you're going to spend is with the risk table. You can select either the grade alert through the red dot just simply by clicking on the red dot. It will tell you why there's an alert for this particular student. this student is matching these risk factors. And in this case, it's a good risk factor because you can also set your rules to apply to high achieving students. So this student is matching the rule that their grade is above 85%. So we know that's why that alert was triggered. If we click on the activity alert, we can see that this student is triggering alert on the activity rules because their activity is below 20% of the course average. And that's because this is a spring semester course. But certainly during the semester, if you have that alert triggered, you would want to notify the student. So you can notify students easily right here using this notify option, notify students, and it will send an email to the student. You can also copy other recipients if you needed to send this to a department chair, student services, their faculty mentor, whatever the case may be. That's a blind carbon copy, so you do have that option. You can edit the text. The standard text just says that your activity has triggered an alert. You can use this to let students know, hey, your activity is such that you're at risk for administrative withdrawal, so you need to get into the course and do some work. The other thing is the subject is pre-populated. You can edit it. It does say course activity alert, or it'll say course grade alert, and that sort of, from the limited feedback we've gotten from instructors using the Retention Center, that seems to really get students' attention and gets more feedback than just a regular email that was sent. So then we would just click submit to send it. We're not going to send this email because we don't want to confuse this poor student from last semester. So one of the biggest benefits for Retention Center is that immediacy in notifying students. It's right there. You don't have to go into Grade Center and sort of interpret that data. It's really done for you very easily, and it's very glanceable here. And then you don't have to remember then to go to your email, find that student's email address, email that student. You can do it directly from the Retention Center. Now, to get an individual student's performance view, you would just click on the student's name, and it's going to bring you to the student's activity screen where you'll see their profile picture. You'll see their status, and this student is labeled at risk. This student is labeled as at risk because they trigger 3 different alerts. Retention Center doesn't distinguish between good alerts and bad alerts, so an alert is an alert. If this were during the semester and the student were accessing the course and doing activities, then they wouldn't be triggering these other 2 alerts. They would just be triggering the grade alert for being above 85%, and they would still be indicated here as at risk when actually they're triggering an alert, but they're not really at risk. We can see all 4 different categories here. Their missed deadlines. The student has missed no deadlines. Their grade is above the 85% rule. Their activity alert is set. This upper box gives you the student's activity overall over the course. So in general, the student is 52% above average for their activity level in the course compared with other students. But within the last 1 week, as by the rule, they have dropped below 20%. And in this case, we know it's because it was a course from last semester, so they're not accessing it anymore. And then the access is a number of days. This is particularly helpful for admin withdrawal. If you want to change that for block courses or summer courses so that it's 2 days or 3 days, you can do that. If you want to set it to the extreme during the semester to 14 days, you can also do that. 5 is pretty good for a 16-week course because if a student is out of a course for 5 days, they're most likely getting behind. Again, we have the option to notify the student directly from this screen, and communications that we send to the student from Retention Center will show up down here, and that is helpful if you were to send an email to the student saying, hey, you missed exam 1, you can go ahead and make that up. Just let me know when you plan to do that. or hey, you haven't accessed the course, we're getting close to the drop date, then you can see when you contacted the student at a glance here, and you can say, you know, I sent them a reminder yesterday, so I'll give it a little bit, or oh, I haven't communicated with the student in the last week and they're still struggling. I want to go ahead and notify them again. So it's really helpful to have all of that information, all of those options in one single screen. The monitoring function, you may have seen the student was set to monitor in the home screen of the Retention Center. The way we did that, we just clicked on the monitor button and the student was added to that panel. So let's go back to the Retention Center home screen. And that's the student is displayed here in the monitoring area. If you have an exceptionally high-performing student, you can monitor their progress and then pair them up sort of with other students. If you have a group project, you can sort of evenly mix. If you're tracking students who are performing well and students who are struggling, you can mix and match them up for a group project so that you have them evenly distributed and they'll perform, you know, better in a group that way. Okay, now to create our own rules or customize, edit the rules that are existing, we're going to click Customize. And here are those 4 default rules. We actually created one in the last session here for our high performers. So we have the default rules in each category, the course activity category, the course access category, the grade category, and the missed deadlines category. And you can see what activity or what grade triggers each of these. Is an activity in the last week has fallen below 20%, access for the last 5 days, external grade below 25% of the class average. And you'll notice this is external grade. That's the grade in the grade center that has the little green check mark at the top. It's the reporting out. It's usually the total. You can also set grade rules for individual assignments, and we're going to take a look at that in just a second. And then missed deadlines, which you can adjust. Okay, if we go into create a rule and we create a grade rule, if you had a particular assignment, like a midterm that was worth a large portion of the student's overall grade, you might want to set a grade rule for that so that you can notify students if they do poorly on that exam and notify them and say, hey, you did poorly on the midterm, you're going to need, you're going to need to perform well for the rest of the semester in order to pass, or here's a extra credit opportunity, or here's a makeup opportunity, or whatever the case may be. So you can select monitor the final grade, which is the overall grade, or in our case, a specific item. And we're going to check the midterm. And we're going to set it if they fall below 75% on that particular assignment. So we'll submit that. And then when we go back to our Retention Center home screen, we'll see if any of our students, although both had pretty high-performing students. Yeah, all of those. Okay, so that might not have been the best example because none of Philip's students in this course were doing that poorly at midterm. So, but that's how you would create the rule, and if they were, it would be triggered with the red dot. When you click on the red dot, it would tell you that's why they were getting the alert. Let's create another rule for missed deadlines. And this would be good if you were wanting to set an alert for students, if you were tolerant of late work, but you wanted to, so you didn't like immediately after every due date email students saying, hey, you missed an assignment, but you would accept later work. You might set a rule if they've missed more than 3 assignments by a week, You could set miss 3 assignments by more than 7 days, or you could monitor a specific deadline by the course items. And for that to work, you'd actually have to have the due dates set on the individual items, not the availability dates, but the due dates. So for this, we'll do 3 deadlines more than 7 days, because at that point a student is really starting to fall behind, and you might want to say, hey, I'll accept work until the end of the semester, but you've got 3 missing assignments over the last week, so don't let yourself get bogged down. And then we would click Submit. And we'll go to the Retention Center home, see if any of Philip's students had triggered that alert. Nope. So all of his students did really well. Okay, that's customizing the rules and creating your own new rules. That is a great question. No, courses, when they are copied, the rules do not follow. You have to sort of start over each semester. It's a kind of bummer. Okay. But it's a very helpful system. It gives you a lot of information, like I said, right at a glance. And that instant notification is really helpful. And being able to monitor students who maybe are off to a slow start, you can immediately monitor them, and then when you see that their performance is improving, you can send them a quick note to say, you know, hey, good job, you've really improved, keep up the good work. And that positive feedback to students is really important too. Okay, well, that's pretty much everything that there is in order to set up your Grade Center and to set up your Retention Center and to interpret the data in the screen as you see it. There are a lot of different, because there's so much customization of the rules and different ways that you could use it on different assignment items and on overall grades and overall activity, it's really going to be used in a very individualized way by instructors. So I would just encourage you to kind of test it out. Definitely give us feedback. Any positive or negative experiences you have with it. Any questions you have about it, definitely let us know. If you think, how could I, if you have some abstract idea about, I want to make sure students who are working on this project do really well, or I want to know who does well on this, but who does poorly on that, then let us know and we can help you sort of work through how to set those rules up and how to make the most of the Retention Center tool. So, and definitely use that instant notification, because it's very convenient for instructors, and it's, like I said, from the limited feedback that we've gotten, it seems very effective. We've only got a couple of instructors so far who are really using the Retention Center heavily and who have been using that notification system. But they've said that students seem to really respond to it even better than, the typical emails that go out from instructors. So, do either of you have any questions about how to use the Retention Center? Yeah, we're really hoping that it'll be useful a lot with the last date of attendance issues that have come up, and with administrative withdrawal, and sort of a lot of the issues that the institution is really focusing on and administration is really stressing right now. We think can really be helpful using the retention center. Yeah, and a lot of instructors do that. They notice in the grade center when students haven't completed an assignment, and they say, hey, you didn't get this work done. The sort of the benefit of the retention center is you don't have to kind of go through and scroll around and pick those things out. It kind of just puts it right here in red dots for you. So it's a little, especially if you have a big class or a lot of sections and you want to kind of just at a glance be able to grab it really quickly. Also, if you have a student, say, who is got 100% on everything in the course and they missed one assignment, which is worth almost no points, if you're going through Grade Center column by column and you just look down that column, oh, missing an assignment, email, hey, you missed this assignment, you might not have, if you have your alerts set, you might not have sent that student an email, to say, hey, you missed this 5-point assignment when you've got 100% everywhere else. Usually if you have a 100% student, though, they're probably not going to miss any assignments. But it is quick, and that is helpful. And it does have the alert. I think there's something about the subject being set when you send it from the retention center notification. It has in the subject alert, and I think that just really catches students' attention there. So, and like I said, you don't have to worry about going through Grade Center and finding them and saying, oh, well, this student, this student's grade is good, but they missed one assignment, or I don't want to harass them until they've missed a couple of assignments, or whatever you feel is appropriate for your course. Grade Center sort of doesn't just give you all of that information combined together, and this kind of does. So it's really helpful in that way. But well, if you guys have any other questions, let me know. And if you ever want to come in and work one-on-one, we can help you set up alerts and rules and sort of come up with different ideas. We can figure out how to make it tell you what you're wanting to know. So well, we went through that pretty quick. If you guys don't have any other questions, I think that's all I have. And as always, be awesome. Let us know if you need some help. We've got a great lab. We do make cookies, so yeah, definitely let us know once you guys start using it. Let us know how it goes, because we need that feedback so we can help other instructors and kind of guide them on what types of rules set up to really help them. Can you mail? Yeah, we do get that request a lot. We're gonna have to start our own cookies by mail sort of operation, but we can't always do a virtual meeting, and then there's virtual cookies, which are less tasty. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for coming, and we will see you next time. Bye.